Okay, I think we are live. Erev Tov, everybody. Bruchim habayim. I know it's Wednesday, and we set this parasha class for Monday night, but we couldn't do it Monday night, so we're here on Wednesday giving our parasha prisms, ideas, lessons on the weekly parasha. I'll start off by saying today wasn't an easy day in Klal Yisrael, to say the least. You know, we lost a lot of our dear soldiers. And whenever days like this happen, it's not easy to cope with for any person that has a heart can feel a lot of emotion. And I'll dedicate today's class, B'ezrat Hashem, to those soldiers that perished, and Hashem yikom damam. And Hashem should continue to protect Klal Yisrael, the current chayalim that are on the grounds, in the boots or in the tanks or in the air or on the sea, that they should have lots of hatzlacha during these very tumultuous times. We are studying Parashat Vayera. So let's just go over a few pointers of what happens in this week's parashat, and then we'll go and focus on one idea, as we normally do. So Abraham is sitting outside of his tent, and he's hoping to see guests. This is right after the Brit Milah. Hashem visits Abraham because he's not feeling so well. Bikur Holi, Hashem actually visits the sick. Abraham sees 3 travelers dressed up like Aravim and invites them to come and rest, to come and eat. The travelers are actually angels, and one of these angels tells Abraham that he and Sarah are going to have a baby boy in 1 year. The other one's coming to heal him, and the third one is coming to inform him of the destruction of Sodom. Sarah thinks she's too old to have a child, but Abraham tells her, listen, Hashem can do anything he wants. Then Hashem goes on to tell Abraham that he's going to destroy Sodom because all the people there are evil. Abraham argues that if there are tzaddikim living in the city, then the city shouldn't be destroyed. He starts at 50 and he makes his way all the way down to 10. Convinces Hashem that if there was 10 righteous men in the city, that he should not destroy the city, but there were not even 10 tzaddikim, and it had to be destroyed. And Sodom is destroyed by a rain of fire. Abraham's nephew Lot and his wife and their 2 daughters escaped the destruction because of the assistance of the angels. Lot and his family were warned not to look at the destruction while it was being destroyed. Lot's wife dismisses that instruction, turns back, and looks away. She turns into a pillar of salt. Lot, thinking that the world has totally been wiped off again, wiped out, is left with him and his 2 daughters, and they have children, Ammon and Moab. Moves to Gerar, and the king of Gerar is Avimelech, who kidnaps Sarah. Hashem comes to Avimelech in a dream and tells him that this Sarah, she's a holy woman belonging to a holy man, and he warns him to return Sarah. He is stricken with an illness, him and all of his men. Avimelech sends her back, gives gifts to Abraham and Sarah as well. There is a whole fight with some wells that turns out to be the current city of Be'er Sheva, of 7 wells. Then Abraham and Sarah have a child. Finally, Yitzchak is born in this week's parasha. And the end of the parasha, arguably one of the highlights of the entire Torah, is the story of Akedat Yitzchak, the story of the binding of Yitzchak, where Abraham is tested with his final test to sacrifice his son, and he almost goes through with it, if not for the heavenly decree from above to stop, because he passed the test. So that is the parasha in a nutshell. I want to focus today, with your permission, on the opening idea that I mentioned of the parasha, right? What happens right at the beginning. Hashem comes to visit Abraham in his home. He appears to him. Vayera elav Hashem belone mamre vehu yosef petach ha'ohel kechom hayom. Abraham is standing there at the entrance of his tent, and the Torah tells us in the heat of the day. It was an extremely hot day. An idea or a point that seems to be irrelevant. Why do I care the temperature of the day? First of all, generally in Israel, it's always warm. Down south, it's even warmer. But okay, why do I need to know that it's kechom hayom? This is a question that Rashi addresses. And he says the following. Hotzi hakadosh baruch hu chama min nartika. That Hashem took out that day, he removed the sun, and he exposed it in a way that it was extremely hot. And the reason why he did this, shelo lehatricho be'orchim, so that Abraham not be bothered with guests. When it's too hot outside, people will stay indoors in the shade of their tents, and they won't be traveling. And Abraham was a person who had his tent always open, welcoming guests. And being that Abraham had just received the Brit Milah, Hashem didn't want Abraham to be bothered while he was recuperating from his personal surgery. But when he saw Abraham so distressed that he couldn't perform this mitzvah of hachnasat orchim, of hospitality, shelo hayu orchim ba'im, heviya malachim alav bidmut anashim. So Hashem says, wow, he's so upset, and he sends him angels in the appearance of men. And the rest is history. What's this idea that Rashi says, Ra'ahu mitzta'er? He saw him distressed. And that's why he brought malachim. That's why he brought angels. I want you to imagine a child who missed a lot of school. Throughout the year, he didn't come to class a lot. Half a year, he missed class during various intervals. He was either on vacation, or there was a time where he was sick, and he was hospitalized. Couldn't come. At the end of the year, all of his friends receive their diploma to pass to the next grade. Here's your report card. Congratulations. You have graduated to grade 7 or to grade 8. And this child receives a report card. And it says, so sorry, but you will have to redo grade 6. You have to redo grade 6. And the child comes to the teacher and he cries. Please, I want a diploma. I want a report card. I want to move forward. The teacher says, how can I give you a report card if you were never in class? You were barely here. What do you expect me to give you? So the child says, but I have an excuse. I was sick. I have a doctor's note. Please. You're right, says the teacher. But the fact remains, you weren't in class. So to receive a report card, to receive something, I can't pass you. The child begins to cry. Please, all of his mercy begging. I want to go to grade 7. Look at all my friends, all going to grade 7. So the teacher finally gives in and says, you know what? Here's your pass. Go to grade 7. The child's all happy. He goes back to the friends. And he says, look, I made it to grade 7. And the friends look at him and he says, was it a joke? What did you do to earn it? You don't have any grades. You have any grades on your report card? You have no grades. It just says you pass. It's just a pass to get in. But you don't have grades. So the child goes back to the teacher and says, please, can I have some grades? Can you give me some grades? I want to show my friends that I've done something. So the teacher says, but you weren't in class. How can I give you grades if you weren't in class? I can't pass you. Go to grade 7 with your friends. Said there, but I can't give you grades. In the Lashon of the Gemara, this is called ones. The Gemara tells us, ones keman de la avidam. Someone who is anus, someone who is held back because of circumstances out of his control. It's keman de la avidam. It's like he didn't do it. He's not punished because it wasn't his fault. But at the same time, you can't say that he did it because he didn't do it. We see this in many places throughout halacha and brought down the Gemara. One famous example that's brought is a man goes to Chutz La'aretz. He lives in Israel and he goes to out of town, and he goes to his wife and he gives him a divorce, gives her a divorce, and says, "This is your divorce. If I don't come back within 12 months, then you can get divorced." Okay. On the last day of the year of the 12 months, he's on his way back, and on the plane, something happens on the plane. Something, a mechanical issue, electronic issue. We all know all the problems on the plane. He can't get back. So he comes back half a day too late. Day 366. And he says, "Okay, I'm here." The wife says, "I don't know, you're late." You go to the rabbi. The rabbi says, "I'm sorry, but your get's a get." "But I was honest. I tried coming back. I was on the, it's not my fault. I was on the plane. I was going to be back in time." "I'm sorry. The halakha is the halakha. Just because you're anus doesn't take away from the fact this is a valid get." Another example. If you're not feeling well, and because of that, you didn't come to Bet Knesset, you couldn't come to shul, you couldn't come pray with a minyan. You're not going to receive a punishment because you were sick and you couldn't come to minyan. But you can't now demand, you want sachar, reward, that you prayed with a tzibur. I understand you were sick, but you didn't come. So it's honest. This rule that I just stated only applies when a person just leaves it as is. It will not apply if a person fears remorse and distress for the fact that he didn't perform the mitzvah. When a person didn't make it to shul and he was upset about it, it bothered him, and he was so sad. Or if a person heard that somebody was collecting tzedakah, and it hurt him so much because he really wants to give to that man, that organization that he's representing, and he just couldn't do it. And it's known to Hashem that he feels distress and he feels mitzta'er. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes it as if he did the deed, as if he made the act, he did the mitzvah, and he will receive a grade. It's not just a pass. "Okay, Pseder, I'm not going to punish you." It's you're going to receive a grade as if you fulfilled the mitzvah, which is a tremendous piece of advice for any case whenever we lose an opportunity to perform a mitzvah, that if a person is so distressed and feeling remorse that he missed out on an opportunity, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises you that in his account, it's as if you've done it. One of the berachot in the morning that women recite is Baruch she'asani kirtzono. Some recite it with actually Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'asani kirtzono, that Hashem has made me according to His will. This is a blessing that is counter what the men bless, Shelo asani isha, where the men blessed, "Thank you Hashem for not creating me a woman." Now, this is on face value a aspect that kind of stirs up women's emotions a little bit. They're not happy when they know that the men are blessing Shelo asani isha. What do we do wrong? Are we bad people? So why doesn't the woman say Shelo asani ish, that you didn't make me into a man? What is the meaning behind it? Especially the fact that the women are categorized in the same levels as goy and eved. The man says, "Thank you Hashem for not making me a goy. Thank you for not making me a slave. And thank you for not making me a woman." How is that even proper? That seems to be demeaning to the female. The answer is because truly the female, as we're going to see, is on a much more deeper, higher level spiritually than the male. Let me explain. A person is created in an unprocessed state. We have a form, we have a body, we have a physical structure, but we do know that our physical goof, contains within a neshama, and that neshama needs to be nourished and it needs to be fertilized. And the way that we fertilize and way we form our holy soul is through the performance of mitzvot, of Torah and mitzvot. The mitzvot that we do is the operating manual that we have, the instruction book that we have to go through life. At the same time, the mitzvot that we do are the brakes that stop us from running wildly. Mitzvot is an order system. You can, yes, you can talk, but there's certain things you can't talk. Okay, you can't say, and you can use your arms, but there's certain ways you can't use your arms. So they're like a brake system. He says the following, that you got to think of it as two different vehicles. If you have a semi-trailer truck and you have a small little compact car, they both have an engine, they both have acceleration, they both have brakes. But you cannot compare the brakes, the quality of the brakes, the strength of the brakes of the semi-trailer versus that of the small car. Because the semi-trailer has tremendous power to it, that if the brakes are not utilized when time needs, it can cause utter destruction. But it has a lot of power. The brakes are much stronger on the semi-trailer. So our Chachamim want to explain as follows, that man, or I should say males, are the semi-trailer. They require a lot of push and a lot of engine, and they require a lot of mitzvot. And that's why almost all mitzvot apply to males. Ladies are much closer in spirituality to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're born with a special ruach, a ruach bina, as brought down in Mekubalim. Therefore, at that same time, they don't require that many breaks because they're already close to Hashem. Because they don't have as many mitzvot. I don't need to nourish my neshama as much as I do them as the man has to do. The blessing of she'asani kirtzono is the woman understanding where she stands in life. She understands her closeness to God already from birth, her spiritual being, but at the same time, she's expressing her tza'ad. She's expressing her distress and her pain that she cannot perform all the mitzvot like the man, like her counterpart, the male, has to do. And the only thing she can say is she'asani kirtzono, that Hashem has made me according to His will. It happens to be something close to God, closer than the male, but she'asani kirtzono, that I can't perform as many mitzvot as the male. When you look at Abraham Avinu at the start of the parasha, he gets his Brit Milah, he puts himself into a very precarious situation, life-threatening at his age, and Hashem wanted to make him rest. I'm not going to now bombard you with a lot of guests that you're used to, so I'm going to bring this heat wave that they've never seen before, so that everybody stays home. Abraham technically should have been besimha. Thank you, Hashem. I appreciate what you're doing for me. He didn't lose any guests. It's not that he turned away anybody. There's not even a dog outside to serve. It's so hot out there. He cannot possibly, no one's around to even serve and treat. So why is he upset? Is he guilty because it's his fault that there's no guests? Absolutely not. He is mitzta'er because of the lost opportunity. That's what's bothering him. And when Hashem sees, oh my goodness, look how upset he is that he can't perform this mitzvah, he sends him angels min hashamayim. And that's like, again, here's your report card with marks. Because I see how distressed you are. Even though technically you could have said, okay, I'm good. At least I got 1 or 2 days free without any guests. We actually see this multiple times in our history, especially in Chumash. One of the times we see it is Korban Pesach. When the commandment was given in Korban Pesach, in Parashat Be'alotecha, it was the second time that the Jewish people were going to perform the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. The first time was in Yetziat Mitzrayim, and the second time was the next year, and they weren't going to do it again until they crossed into Israel 40 years later. And the reason is because the desert was a very dangerous place for people that performed Brit Milah, and anyone that was, and therefore they weren't commanded to do Brit Milah in the desert. It was only given to Yoshua afterwards to make sure that everybody else that was born in the desert had to do Brit Milah. And anybody that was not circumcised could not bring the Korban Pesach. It's a commandment in the Torah. So there were a group of people that went to Moshe and says, one problem, Moses. We are here carrying this coffin of Yosef with his bones, which means that they are impure because they're carrying the coffin. And does that mean now that we're not going to be able to perform this mitzvah for another 40 years till we go into Israel? How is this right? This is not fair. They actually went to complain to Moshe. So Moshe Rabbeinu actually never in his life heard he didn't know what to do. So he goes to Hashem, and Hashem says, very simple, if they are so upset, if they feel such remorse that they can't perform the mitzvah, give them Pesach Sheni. And they Hashem almost Kiviyachol brought this mitzvah to light. It was always going to be there, of course. But in the merit of these people who complained to Moshe, why don't we get the opportunity to do Pesach Sheni, the Korban Pesach? Because you complain, because it bothers you so much. Pesach Sheni. When a person is so remorseful, when a person is so distressed over the fact that he loses a mitzvah, we give him the opportunity to perform it. We see it with the dedication of the Mishkan. All the princes of Bnei Israel brought korbanot. Everybody brought on a different day. Every person. At the end, Aharon HaKohen, he wanted to bring something. And there was nothing left to bring. Not him, not his tribe. None of Shevet Levi brought anything. So again, Aharon is sad. He's feeling pain. He's in distress. He's sorrow. And he goes to Hashem and he says, come on, what's going on? This is one of the first Rashis in Parashat Vayera. And Hashem says, don't worry. Don't worry. I saved Shelcha Gedolah Mishelahem. What you're going to bring, what you're going to do is greater than everybody else. And he gave them Hadlakat Nerot HaMenorah. And that was Aharon's job, to kindle the lamp of the menorah every single day. That's what you're zocheh when you are mitzta'er for, I have said mitzvah. Imagine you go to, you're invited to a bar mitzvah. Last minute something comes up and you can't go to the bar mitzvah. So you call up your friend and, hey, how was the bar mitzvah? Yeah, it was nice. Boy read okay, but don't ask. And what happened? In the middle of the meal, of the breakfast, some guy, went around collecting money, and he basically got like, $300 from every person over there collecting for the shiva. You saved yourself $300. That's what he told the guy on the phone. So some people are going to say, it turned out well. I didn't go. Saved me $300 and give me tzedakah. And then some people are going to cry. And some are going to say, I missed the opportunity to give tzedakah to somebody who needed the tzedakah. The Chafetz Chaim famously writes, he says, you want to know why so many Jews give millions and millions of dollars to university around the world in colleges, but so few give money to yeshivas? Why is that the case? He says, because they don't have the zechut to give. They don't have the merit to give to Torah institutions, to Torah mitzvot. You have to have zechut. To give to university, to a college, easy to have zechut. You don't need zechut. You just give. But to actually go and give to Torah institutions, you got to be worthy for that. One story of a man that came to the Chafetz Chaim and said, while collecting, 1 million rubles for whatever yeshiva, he goes, 1 million rubles, here's 1 million rubles. And he was ready to write a check for whatever it costs to the Chafetz Chaim to pay for the whole yeshiva. Chafetz Chaim says, thanks, no thanks. What do you mean? He says, what, you're going to get the whole mitzvah? You can't get the whole mitzvah. There's other people that wanted to have a zechut to give, and I have to give opportunities to everybody. Can you imagine? Nobody in today's world will do that. If somebody comes to you and says, I'll write a whole check and pay your whole building off, who's going to say, no, please keep your check. I'm going to go and collect from everybody else. But Chavetz Chaim understood that people have zechuyot to give. Aaron was so upset that he couldn't participate in the matanot, in the donations of the Nesi'im. He says, this is not fair. But he could have said, I was anus. It wasn't my fault. No one even asked me to give. Everyone, they took it all. By the time I got to the page and I saw, donated. Done. Okay, finished. Everything's done. Could have just walked away. But no, he went to Hashem and says, not fair. Not fair. I'm going to make sure you give something. Yours is bigger than theirs. Hadlakat amenorah. So then you fast forward to the end of this week's Parashah, the story of all stories, and you have Akedat Yitzchak. And the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Yitzchak, the Bet HaLevi says something amazing. He says that many people know, he says the following, goes, the Nisayon of Abraham was greater than the Nisayon of Yitzchak. Abraham's test was greater than Yitzchak's test. That's why it's called Abraham's test. And the reason is because it's much easier to give your life over, the Shem Shamayim, to die, than to live the Shem Shamayim. To go and die the Shem Shamayim, okay, here, done, over. But had Yitzchak actually died, Abraham would have to live the rest of his life with this feeling. And that test was what made his Nisayon called in his name. The test called is Abraham's Nisayon. It was Abraham's 10 test, not Yitzchak. Which poses a question. If that's the case, then why do we call it Akedat Yitzchak? Why is the title of the story called Akedat Yitzchak? On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we constantly refer to this story. Va'akedat Yitzchak hayom lezarot yizkor. That the binding of Yitzchak should be for his descendants to remember. Why not call it the Nisayon of Abraham to remember? The answer is because we connect to it more. For us to see what Yitzchak did is like, wow. You learn it as a child. That's an unbelievable feat. As a 37-year-old man, okay, according to some opinions, maybe a bit older, whatever it was, to go and do what he did, that's unbelievable. But why is it called the Akedah? You ask yourself the question. Why is it called the Akedah? What did the Nisayon was Shechitat Yitzchak. Slaughter your child. Go take a knife and kill it. Slaughter it. Why is the Nisayon called the Akedah? Because titles are important, you should know. You know, I'm giving this class right now. It took me 20 minutes to figure out what I'm going to title this class. Everyone that writes a flyer, what are we going to title? What's going to be the title of the event? Because if you have a bad title, it doesn't draw people. I hope my title was good today. I don't know. But like, if you have a title that's not enticing, people, okay. Once there was a guy, he put a sign outside of his store. Invalid sale. Invalid sale. You know, you just say sale? Wrong sale. Invalid sale. So a guy comes in. He says, you're going to make a sign. At least put the sign, have a sign that brings people in. What are you doing an invalid sale for? You go, I think you're right. But now that I have you in the store, come on, I want to show you some of the things that I'm selling. That was the whole idea. Anyways, why is it called Akedat Yitzchak? It should be called Shechitat Yitzchak. The answer is because Yitzchak was the one who asked his father to tie up his hands and legs. What was Yitzchak worried about? If Yitzchak would have moved during the Shechitah, then the Shechitah would have been pagum. It wouldn't have been clean. And you have to think of it this way. Who wouldn't move in that situation? You're so nervous. You'd probably be shaking as he was. And it wouldn't have been his fault if there would have been a mistake, because Hashem would have let it go anyways, because, wow, look at this. You actually slaughtered your son. But Yitzchak said, absolutely not. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. No. You're going to take my hands. You're going to tie my hands. You're going to tie my feet. and you're going to make sure, you're going to tie my body, you're going to make sure that I don't move. Akedat Yitzchak. It's a za'ikud. And our avodat Hashem, day in and day out, is trying to avoid the excuses of, oh, I got out of it. Oh, I was stuck in traffic. Oh, it's not my fault. Oh, I just don't feel comfortable. What can I do? All the check marks are checked. All the boxes are checked. So therefore, we accept the Akedah as a name of Akedat Yitzchak on that request from him. So comes the angel, right as Abraham is about to slaughter Yitzchak. And he says, Abraham, Abraham, Al tishlach yadecha lanar, ve'al ta'aslo me'uma. Calls him twice to scream at him. Because Abraham probably, he already said the beracha. There was beracha, we're to fulfill this mitzvah of Shalom Hashem. Stop, Abraham, loud. Al tishlach yadecha lanar. Don't stretch your hand over the boy, and don't do anything to him. Why the double lashon? Why is there? It seems to be repetitive. If you just say, "Don't stretch your hand on the boy," you understand? Okay, they'll leave him alone. Don't do anything to him. So Mefarshim brings down that when he said "Al tishlach yadecha lanar," Abraham understood that to mean, "Don't kill him." But then Abraham says, "Okay, maybe I'll cut off a hand. Maybe I'll cut off a bit of his ear. Maybe I'll pull out a tooth. I'll do something to him to show that I really want to do this." And that's when they said, Al taslo me'uma. Don't do anything to this boy. He's going to be tamim. He's got to be perfect. Now I want you to stop and think. Like we said last week, if you were Avraham Avinu at that moment, and there was even the smallest way out of this predicament and this experience, are you going to sit there and argue? You love your son so much. You love your son so much. And God says, no more, done. You'd be sweating. You drop the knife as fast as you can. Thank God I don't have to do this. Thank God I don't have to do this. But Abraham was not ready to release the mitzvah. He's not looking for excuses. That's it. I'm done. I'm free. I'm exempt. He wants to do it because I'm going to lose this opportunity of a lifetime. Let me do something. Let me pull his teeth. Let me give him a slice on his finger. Let me crack a bone. Something. And because of that, the next pasuk is, Vayisa Abraham et enav. Abraham raises his eyes. Vayar ve'ine ayil. And he sees a ram. Nechaz basevach berkarnav. He looks up. He's in so much pain that he couldn't perform the mitzvah. But Hashem gave him the opportunity. Here, you have an ayil. It's here for you. When you are in pain, when you're distressed that you can't perform one of God's commandments, Hashem will make it happen. He'll give you the second Korban Pesach. He's going to give Aharon the opportunity to light the menorah. Abraham is going to receive angels to serve. And Yitzchak is going to have this Akedah called in his name. They didn't fulfill the mitzvah, but they still got check marks. They got check marks for doing it. They got a grade. Here, you passed and you got grades. And that's the tsar we have to feel whenever we don't have an opportunity or we lose an opportunity to do a mitzvah. And right after the Akedah, an angel calls out again to Abraham. He says, "Vayomer b'nishbatinu Hashem, ki yan asher asita tadavar hazeh," because you did this, ve'lo chasachta bincha yechidecha, and you didn't withhold your son. Now Chachamim ask, didn't he say this line already? He already said this line. Ve'lo chasachta bincha yechidecha, and you didn't withhold your son. Why is the angel coming back again? And the answer is because the first time around, the angel was giving him the pass. Okay, you can go to grade 7. All right, good. You didn't withhold your son. You put him on the altar. But the second time, he was giving him credit for actually doing the work. The second time, he gave him the grades. And if you pay attention to the pasuk, Yan asher asita et hadavar hazeh, that he did it, but he didn't do it. He didn't slaughter his son. Keilu asita. Hashem gives you the credit. He gives you the grade. You missed all year of school, but you get the grades, and you passed. There is an incredible Gemara in Masechet Yuma, Daf Lamed Hayt, that talks about Nikanor, who was bringing the doors of the Bet HaMikdash by boat on the way to Jerusalem. And he prepared these gorgeous gates of iron, and he brought these doors on the boat to travel from Alexandria to Eretz Israel. On the way there was a massive tempest, and the storm was threatening the boat to capsize the ship. And he needed to lighten the load. And as many of us know, whenever you have to lighten the load, the first thing to go are usually the mitzvot, right? You have a child that goes to guitar lessons or piano lessons, and also gets a tutor for Chumash. And times are tough. I need to drop one of the tutors. Keep the piano lessons. We'll drop the Chumash. That's usually the one that goes first, is the mitzvot. That's out in. Anyways, so you have the guy. There was once a story of a guy that comes up to a rabbi. He says, "Rabbi, I need $500. $500 for what? You need $500?" He goes, "I need to buy my son tefillin." Oh, the rabbi was so impressed. He cares about tefillin so much that he's coming for. He needs the money to buy his son tefillin. So then the guy goes on to Tom and goes, "Yeah, after preparing for the bar mitzvah, renting the hall, the flowers, the band, the dress, the suit, I ran out of money. So I need $500 for the tefillin." He goes, that's the first thing we drop. We drop the mitzvot. So back to Nikanor. What does he do? He takes one of the doors and he throws it off. And the moment he throws it off to lighten the load, something inside of him says, "I don't think that was right." It was bothering him. It was bothering him. The storm did not stop, and the boat was still rocking, and it was going to capsize. And the only other choice was to throw out the second door off the ship. And the Gemara relates that he ties himself to the door, and he says, "If this door is going overboard, this gate is going overboard, I'm going overboard with it." And he throws himself and the door off, and then the storm calms down. The seas calm instantly. And then they pull him back onto the boat. And then as they reach the port of Akko, they find the door that he threw off before. Because when a person is moser his nefesh, and by the way, till today we have Shar Nikanor. We have the Nikanor gates in the old city. And why? When a person is moser his nefesh for the purpose of something that is filled with holiness in Yeshua, he's zochet. He's zochet to Yeshua. He's zochet to salvation. But it has to be because you feel bad. What was he mitzta'er about? You know what he was mitzta'er about? That he didn't tie himself to the first door. That's what bothered him. I should have tied myself to the first door, not the second door. And as a result of that distress, not only did he find the first one, but he was able to bring them and create the gate in the old city of Yerushalayim. The Chachamim tell us in Perkei Avot, "Im batalta Torah mina Torah, yesh lecha betelim harbe kenegdach. Im amalta baTorah, yesh lo sachar habe litenach." Which means, if you have wasted your time away from Torah, you should know there's a lot of wasted things in front of you. And if you dealt a lot with Torah and you engage in Torah, you should know that you're going to have a lot of reward waiting for you. Some of the rabbis want to ask, what is this word harbe? A lot. The Mishnah should have said, "In bitalta Torah, yesh betelim." If you waste your time in Torah, you have wasted things. What's harbe? If you engage in Torah, yesh lecha sachar. What's harbe sachar? So I want to tell you a mashal. A mashal of two men, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven and Shimon both pass away. And they go up to Bedin in Shamayim. And the first one to enter Bedin is Reuven. Shimon is listening from behind the door what's going on, the conversation. So Reuven's asked the first question. Oh, how was the funeral? Funeral was great. It was great. Nice weather, gave nice eulogies. Okay, in the room there was air conditioning. People said nice things about it. Okay, good. Tell me, you conducted business properly? Yeah, I conducted business. Be'emunah, yeah, okay. Second question. You learned Torah? Did you set time to learn Torah? So Reuven says, listen, I needed parnasah. I needed to go work. And I couldn't learn from morning to night. I needed to go provide for my family. 8 hours I worked by the port. I was a merchant. And okay, what did you do after the 8 hours? So he said, well, I came home and I was sweaty, dirty from the work that I had to do. And I couldn't learn in that, smelling and sweating. So I took a shower for 15, 20 minutes, like most people take a shower. And then, okay, what did you do? Then I sat down and I ate dinner with my wife for half an hour. Okay, what did you do afterwards? Then I went to the kollel and I learned for 30 minutes with somebody. Okay, so Shimon is listening to the psak din, back and forth, and they stamp to him, you have 9.5 hours of learning per day. Shimon can't believe it. This guy got 9.5 hours learning per day. It's amazing. Next, calls Shimon. Shimon comes in. Okay, so you learned Torah? Listen, I had parnasah. Okay, how many hours did you work? Goes, I worked 8 hours. My main job was 8 hours, but I added another 2 hours during the day, side hustles, side income to make some more money. Okay, and afterwards, goes, listen, I didn't really have time to go shower, but I used to go to my friends. He had a nice little swimming pool and jacuzzi. There was a time I used to go and relax over there. Okay, and after that, well, listen, afterwards, often I didn't just eat at home. I went to an Italian restaurant. Sometimes it was a Mexican restaurant. We ate some nice food. Okay, and after that, he says, then I went to the kollel and I learned an hour. Half an hour more than a little bit. I learned an hour. He's all proud of himself. So, the angels are talking among themselves. Sagdin, 1 hour of learning a day. Shimon gets up. 1 hour? What's going on? What do you mean 1 hour? He's all upset. Discrimination. How could this be? This guy you gave 9.5 hours. Me, yeah, I learned more than him. And you're giving me 1 hour. How can it possibly be? And the angels look at Shimon and he says, don't you get it? Reuven was anus. It wasn't his fault. This was things that he wanted to do. He just couldn't. He had to provide for his family. But whenever that final moment came that he could finally learn Torah, he went and learned. You went swimming. You went jacuzzi. You went to fancy restaurants. You made your parnasah. You wanted more parnasah. And then at the end, you decided you're going to learn an hour. You only get an hour. Him, we're counting the whole entire day. And that's what the Mishnah means. Im batalta min haTorah, yesh lecha betelim harbeh. If you found a way to leave and ignore and waste your time, you should know that you got a lot more wasted time on your hands. It's not just the fact that you waste time on Torah. Your whole life is a waste of time. And if you are osek b'Torah and mitzvot, if you made it a part of your life, then you should know yeshcha sachar habeh. Even to the point where you didn't do it. I didn't learn 9.5 hours a day. I couldn't. It was just physically impossible. I wanted to, but life didn't allow me to. So I gave it half an hour. Because after I spent time with my wife, that she needs my company, and I had to shower, and then this. That's what I learned. Hashem is saying, because you felt that tzad, you're a mitzta'er on what you couldn't accomplish because you wanted to accomplish, here's your report card. And your report card is not just a pass. Your report card is with grades. And yes, as today's title of the shiur is, that's how you pass without even going to class. Sometimes opportunities come and we want to be there and we just can't. The question is, how is our reaction at that moment? What is going through our minds? Are we looking for that excuse to get out of it? Is our first initial reaction, yes, the rabbi canceled the shiur today. Yes, we don't have to do. We're not doing this today. The guy that normally comes to collect tzedakah, he's not collecting tzedakah. He said that today there's no tzedakah collecting. Is that the feeling that we go through? If that's the case, then if Hashem's nice, He'll allow us to pass, go into the next. But He's not going to give you a grade. And what's better? What's better? The way to do it is to be mitzvah. We don't want it to be a pagam. We don't want it to be a bediavad. We want Abraham, tie me. Dad, tie me down. I want this to be right. I want this to be perfect. And Abraham's there and he's ready to slice. He says, no, don't touch him. Okay, let me do a little bit. It's okay. You already did it. Because I see your feeling. I see your emotion. And there's a lot that goes to that. So every time a person goes through that, part of his life where he wants to, where opportunities come and they get missed, don't dwell on it and say, okay, whatever, set up or to be in, right? No, go to Hashem and say, Hashem, why not me? Why can't I bring this Korban Pesach? Why can't I donate to this Mishkan? Why I want an opportunity also to donate to the synagogue. I want an opportunity also to donate to the yeshiva, to the Chevra Kadisha, to the Ma'ot Chitim, to the Ezrat Achim. Why don't I get that opportunity? Why are you only leaving it to... No, I want to be part of it. And when you're part of it, Hashem said there, I'll count it for you, and it will be counted as your zechut, and you will have the zechut because that's what you felt all this time. Wishing everybody a wonderful night.